I'd like to continue the growth of the camps, but I do realize that to keep them limited to a certain size is very, very important for the functionality of the camp and the quality, the end product of it. Guys need turns, guys need reps, guys need opportunities to fail and succeed. And if you have too many students, you just don't feel like you get that one-on-one contact with that said instructor and that positive feedback that you're needing, or that reassurance on certain things. So when we initially started this process back in 2010, I thought it was a novelty, so that's why almost 100 people showed up. I had no idea the next year, and we took a little dip there for a little while with the economy. I'm not going to lie, our numbers were a little bit smaller, but now that things are doing better, and obviously with the changes that are coming to college baseball umpiring, the popularity is there. And we're recognized as one of the leading camps on the Western United States, so we've been very successful. I learn each and every time from participating, and that's valuable for me. And like Steve Mattingly says on his opening night, I will learn more by instructing than you guys will learn from me instructing you. And that's a huge thing. So training is massive, very, very important, and we'll continue to do the things we need to do to get people prepared to go out and do this umpiring thing.
You mentioned your staff, and one of the things that really stood out from my perspective this week is that in all of their actions and all of their words, each and every one of your instructors has this mentoring and helping other umpires, and they're so authentic about it. And I'm going to guess with you at the head of this, that's not by an accident.
No, this goes right to the root, and my mentor was Harry Wendelstadt. He instilled in me that mentoring is valuable. Mentoring is the root, and you have to give back. You have to help people out, and you know, umpiring is a unique avocation. You know, officiating is a unique avocation. Tell me when we walk outside of the stadium or outside of the auditorium that we're getting the high fives and the attaboys. We don't. It's our own personal little crew. It's our one or two guys that are sitting in the locker room that can look each other in the face or in the mirror and say, hey, we just did a hell of a job. You know, I think we're gaining some traction right now. People are starting to open their eyes and starting to say, boy, that's interesting. You got these guys over on the East Coast, these guys on the West Coast, and they're collaborating. And when you really sit down and think about it, it's still umpiring.
It's about the other things from an assigner's perspective. Can you speak to that?
Well, an assigner is having to answer to many different people. And it's important to understand what level that you're assigning and the caliber of people that you're trying to assign those games to. I assign NAIA 2 conferences out here on the West Coast, and I also collaborate with Tom Heiler with the 2 Division II conferences out here on the West Coast. So we're looking for individuals that are willing to put egos aside and thoughts and practices aside and do the things that we feel are important. And when I took over the 2 NAIA conferences out west here, one of the biggest things that the feedback from the coaches and administrators was the lack of communication and professionalism on and off the field.
You mentioned how you enjoy the mentoring role. With your many hats, assigner, president of BBUC, not to mention you've reached the highest level in college baseball, I'm sure you get a lot of people that ask you for advice, young umpires aspiring to get to your levels.
Right.
What do you tell them?
I tell them just like what I told them on opening night. If you want to be where I've been, you want to be where this staff has been, you have to get a game plan. You have to figure out there's a procedure that has to take place, a checklist, if you will, that has to take place in order to achieve those goals. You don't just step into it and say, oh, hey, the ticket was pulled out of the fishbowl, and guess what? I'm going. It just doesn't work like that. But you got to stay positive. And the last thing you got to do is you got to stay humble. You got to stay humble. If you can stay humble, I mean, that's just such a great attribute, because humility it's infectious, and people want to be around you, and they feel good for you when good things happen. So if you can put all those things together, good things will happen, whatever level you're able to achieve.
Okay, let's transition to one of the great things that occurred in your career, Omaha. I'm always fascinated talking to you guys to try and really get that emotion when you got the call that you were actually realizing that College World Series dream. Can you share that with me?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So everybody kind of earmarks the May 20th, whatever day that falls on, and it's a Monday, and it's usually right before, what is it, Labor Day holiday, I believe, something like that. And you've heard from others that have been, so you kind of have an idea it's going to take place between a certain time, and of course you want to make sure you've got your phone on you for one, and that it's fully charged. You hang up, and for me, it was a rush of emotions that just kind of took over, and I thought about the start of the journey. And the start of the journey for me was when I finally decided that I wanted to go to umpire school, and what commitment I had to take to get to umpire school. And we talked about, a game plan. And I had to go back to a game plan, because you can sign up for umpire school, but that doesn't mean you're going to get there. There's finances that are involved, there's logistics that are involved. Where am I at in my life? Do I need to take time off from work? Am I in between jobs? All those things. And I went back to those moments, and I thought about all those days that I worked 12-hour days to save up the money. I worked all those summer games and all that BS MSBL garbage, that's just awful. And all of that comes back to you, and then you turn the page, and then you're focused on the chore, and it's a wonderful experience. There's no better place to be in the umpiring world than for college baseball umpires is to be at Omaha. It's a huge event. It's everything and everything that you can imagine. There's nothing like it. It's awesome. I just sat there and just looked around, and there was so much great energy in the stadium that night. It was just super, super hyped up. And I just took it all in and just took a mental picture of it, because you just don't know. You don't know if you're going to get back. And you just want to just capture all of it. And my family was in the stands. My son was there. And it was just such an awesome moment. And but I did. And I know a lot of people talk about, I didn't take the time just to take it in. And I wasn't about to do that. I capture those moments, and they'll stay forever in me.